I thought it was interesting that Deion Sanders said Shedeur and Travis Hunter won't play for some NFL teams. This is as it should be. I don't know why we're upset about this. This is exactly what it should happen. This is how it should happen. This is what it should be. Now, why would Coach Prime say this right now is a very good question. I answer this by saying the NFL draft is a month away, and both Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter are going to be eligible for said NFL draft in 2025. They're going into an all-important year for them and Colorado as they embark on their, getting back to the Big 12 and hope to compete for a Big 12 title. But after going 4-8, we're still talking about this Colorado football team, and y'all still give a damn about what Travis Hunter, Shedeur Sanders are doing and what Coach Prime chooses to say about them. I don't get why you would expect folks would leverage, not to use their leverage in where they would like to have their professional futures. To wit, if somebody gave you the option of doing your job in a sunny and nice place versus a wintry and let's say dark place, what would you choose? And that's about personal preference, right? If you're from Canada, you probably want to go up there where there's some hockey, right? If you're from Florida, like Prime, you want to go somewhere where it ain't going to be cold. Now, that said, right, I think that there are some franchises for which you would be very happy about Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter ending up. Say, I don't know, the Atlanta Falcons, the Dallas Cowboys, San Francisco 49ers, or all three places that Coach Prime played and places where he knows that these two players could thrive. Now, what will this do to their draft stock? Will it help or hurt? To which I say it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter. I wrote about this last week at Fox Sports and on the Fox Sports app, and you should go check that out. But the point to raise here is Shedeur Sanders is in the conversation right now for QB1 in 2025. Other guys in that conversation include Quinn Ewers, Jalen Milroe. I keep going down the line, but I'm not going to because you get the point here, okay? We already know that he's good. The numbers that he put up at Jackson State are the same numbers he put up at Colorado in year one, setting the school record for passing, and he didn't even play 12 games last year. He played 11, and his offensive line was paper mache, okay? We're not even going to name them dudes because they got that man sacked 50-plus times and got a fractured back for him. So he's coming back from that. So that might be the only thing that I'm really interested in is what does he look like throwing a football? And then how does he look throwing a football this year with Phil Lodeholt running the offensive line and five-star Jordan Seaton probably going to start at left tackle as a true freshman. As for Travis Hunter, the question is whether or not that dude's going to go both ways. And I think that's really going to be up to him and Coach Prime. The way I look at this is Coach Prime has had so much to say and such a heavy hand in what Travis Hunter does and doesn't do. That is not to say that he is acting like that dude's daddy, but it wouldn't surprise me to find out that Hunter is the first and last opinion that matters, but also that Coach Prime's taking up all the space in the middle of that, right? So if we're thinking about this in as far as what the draft stock is, if Shedeur Sanders goes for 4,500 yards and 40-plus TDs, it's probably going to put him in the conversation for QB1, right? Not unlike Drake May versus Caleb Williams right now. I think with Travis, it's about, is he going to be playing wide receiver predominantly? Is he going to be playing defensive back predominantly? Does he want to play both? And, Prime could do both. He was that kind of player, and Prime believes that Hunter is that kind of player. We'll see about how that goes in the NFL because the NFL really does value the health of its players above all. So playing 100 snaps is probably not in the cards for Travis Hunter, no matter how good he is at playing both positions. But getting back to Prime saying that both Shedeur and Travis, and they say nothing to Shiloh, who's a good player but probably doesn't have this much leverage, are going to go or hold out for where they want to go, albeit sunny, right? Maybe a place that might be like Houston, might be like Dallas, somewhere close to home. I think you got to take a look at this the way that Prime went through the NFL draft 1989. So Prime was selected 5th overall in 1989 by the Atlanta Falcons. But it was after he played a year as a walk-on at Florida State. Same year, he won the Thorpe Award as a walk-on. And the reason I keep saying he's a walk-on is because he signed a contract with the New York Yankees that made him ineligible for scholarship at Florida State, but it didn't matter. As a matter of fact, one of my favorite stories from his first book way back when is Coach Bobby Bowden going around the room during what would be Prime's last year in college football and asking players, why am I getting reports that y'all aren't going to class? Raise your hand if you have not been going to class, for which Prime was the first and only hand to go up in the air. And Bobby Bowden had to say, hey, that doesn't matter because that dude, he's over here on his own. He was only here to play football because he knew he was getting drafted the very next year. And not only that, Prime refused to take meetings with people that weren't going to select inside the top 10. Like, no, I'm going to be gone for that. Why would I take a meeting with you? That is how his get down has been from the very beginning. And he has kept that get down after 14 years in the league, an illustrious career in TV, and now building a resume as a pretty outstanding college football coach. It's also about leverage and privilege. So Prime could have refused to play for, let's say, for the sake of argument, and pick a Northeastern team like the New England Patriots, who apparently have some kind of feelings about how a documentary about them has gone. Like documentaries that are good do go, right? They show us your laundry. They show us what you don't want us to know about. If he'd end up being selected by, let's say, the New England Patriots, then would he have held out? Probably. He didn't need the money. He didn't have to play football. He was already a New York Yankee, and he was already making a ton of money from marketing opportunities. The man bought a 5-speed transmission car without knowing how to drive a manual because he could just do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of y'all that can't drive a manual, but it ain't because you bought a manual car. It's, because my car is millennial proof, as I'm a millennial. I'm just going to throw that out there because it's got a 5-speed transmission in there. I got to use a clutch and all of this, right? I'm saying? Point here is that both Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter have the same opportunities here. They don't have to sign with whoever selects them. They could. They might. I dare say they should, because that's millions of dollars you leaving out there. And everybody wants to get behind you. That said, we've seen this before. And I'm tired of people acting as if Prime came up with this, because he did not come up with a lot of things. But he did not come up with the idea of saying, I won't play for you. I will hold out. No, did that first time that we ever heard about? John Elway, coming out of that Ivy League in the West Coast, who said, I'm not playing for the Baltimore Colts. I would sooner play baseball for the New York friggin' Yankees. And you know what happened? He ended up playing for the Denver Broncos. You know what happened when he got the Denver Broncos? He won 2 Super Bowls, all right? 2004, 19 years later, 21 years later, math, RJ, I'm an English major, math. 21 years later, we get to see Eli Manning and the Mannings, the first family of football, says, hey, I know that I'm coming out of the SIP. I know that I'm coming out of Ole Miss, which ain't won nothing ever, period, just telling it like it is, who said, I'm not playing for the then San Diego Chargers. It will not happen. Y'all can take me, but you're going to be wasting a pick, because I will just sit here on my hands rather than play football for you. What happened? 45 minutes before draft starts, they traded that pick to the New York Giants. Chargers go and take Phillip Rivers. Turns out to be pretty good for them, because Phillip Rivers had a pretty damn good career in the NFL. But you know what the Giants got? 2 Super Bowls out of Eli Manning. And when he goes in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and he will, he's going in as a Giant, right? Not bad for a guy that held out. Now we're getting back around to a couple players already saying, hey, look, there are some of y'all that we simply don't want to play for. Now, I think it is smart not to name names in all of this. But the point to be raised is, you care that Coach Prime says 13 months before either one of these players is going to be selected, where they may or may not be playing before they have finished their college football careers. I still marvel at just how much people show up to hear what Prime has to say and to see what these players are doing. I don't think it is a coincidence that Shedeur Sanders shows up from Jackson State to Colorado, a team that has won a national championship but ain't got that much more claim than Ole Miss. You get what I'm saying here? And he has the best-selling jersey in college football in 2023. As a matter of fact, the only athlete in college sports to outsell Shedeur Sanders in jerseys is Caitlin Clark. And many people would tell you she is in another stratosphere in as far as what her superstardom can bring her and the University of Iowa, to say nothing of what it's meaning for the Iowa Hawkeyes to be on a run. We hope with a collision course with South Carolina in some capacity, because that's just going to be outstanding. I mean, what Don Staley and them Gamecocks is doing is ridiculous. What Caitlin Clark has been doing is ridiculous. I would think we would all like to see that game played. I'd also add here, none of the quarterbacks that I mentioned here, John Elway nor Eli Manning, needed the money. Shedeur Sanders does not need money. Travis Hunter bought his mama a house, and he is fine, right? Another dude that is country like you read about, but got his bread correct. I think talking about him this way is kind of like talking about what Caleb Williams was doing when, can we get an ownership share from the team that wants to select him, to which the owner goes, absolutely not, right? And you get this, and I get this. But that he's asking, you understand, this is where we are. It's not player empowerment, right? I think people are using that phrase incorrectly, and I think they've been using it incorrectly for some time. It doesn't necessarily make a place like the NBA, for instance, better, but it does make sure that we are paying attention to what they have to say, right? Turns out LeBron James, like the rest of us, he starts podcasts and all of a sudden he wants us to listen. It's the same difference, right? Can you say it at a time when people care? And what's going on? So Prime is saying all this in March when people are just starting up with spring football and famously are not marketing to their audience. I'm always astounded at how football coaches don't want to tell media or fans a damn thing about what they are doing in the spring, as if it's really going to show up in the fall. And if it does, why are you afraid of this? Coach Switzer used to practice Oklahoma in front of Nebraska. Say, we know what we're running. We know what you're running. Bring it. Coach Switzer also understood media. Showed up to recruit Marcus Dupree in a fur coat in Mississippi. Philadelphia, Mississippi, where it's hot and it's humid. But he knew what that coat was going to do. Prime is in the same way, right? I also think that we should probably take this conversation back to college football just a little bit. I always kind of get my feelings around NFL draft time because it feels like there's a whole bunch of people that are being introduced to our players in a way that I'm like, you should have known about these folks for at least 2 years, if not 3. I shouldn't be telling you about who Caleb Williams is or who Drake May is or who Jaden Daniels is. You should know, right? But we always got to start over and re-educate these folks that don't give a damn about our sport except to say we're going to mine it for the young talent. If you like what you've seen, consider subscribing to the #1 college football show on YouTube, the Fox Sports app, or wherever you get your podcast.